Hi, I'm Logan Johnson, and I'm here to show you how to make an amazing pasta sauce. A lot of this is going to be your choice, so I'm just going to give you a few tips and tricks about the kind of things you should put in this pasta sauce, a little bit about how to cook it, but really, it's so easy to do, so easy to adjust that I think I should leave most of it up to you. So, without further ado, we should begin. Really the first thing that any really good pasta sauce needs is, I'm sorry, vegetarians, meat. So, let's go look at what choices of meat we might have. And we're just going to go in here to the laundry room. We got the freezer in here, sitting at a nice -2 degrees Fahrenheit. You know, you want to keep your meat nice and cold so it doesn't get all nasty. Okay. Inside the freezer, we have lots of stuff, but the meat's down here. So, good choices for meat. You got ground beef here, obviously. Types of sausage are good. This is andouille, not really the best for pasta, but it's what I have. Then, up here somewhere, I believe we have some pork chops. That would go really good. Some other stuff you could use is like, you know, chicken, if you wanted to. Cut that up and throw it in there. Really, most meats would work, though I'd recommend staying away from seafood. The other thing to remember with meat is the more you add, the more the sauce is going to, you know, it's going to be hearty. It's going to give you more as a meal. So, you know, take into account the time of day. If you're making it for lunch, maybe add less meat. If you're making it for supper, maybe add more. Time of year, you could definitely adjust. Like, if it's winter and, you know, everyone's been outside all day, maybe add some more meat. Combos, really up to you. So, let's move on to our herbs, vegetables, plant stuff. Okay, tomatoes. Definitely important for, like, you know, red pasta sauce that we're making. Here you got onion. This is really important. Don't skip the onion. Okay, over here we have garlic. Also really important, though I understand some people don't like garlic. I feel sorry for you, but that's okay. Fresh is preferable, but you can use canned stuff like this if that's what you have. You can also go to garlic powder, which, you know, it's okay. And then, if you really have to, garlic salt. But keep in mind, that does say salt, so it gets really salty really fast. Moving on from there, some other good stuff. Carrots. That'll make your pasta sauce sweeter, but not always a bad thing. Spinach here. I'd recommend waiting till, like, either putting it in the bottom of the bowl when you put pasta on top. That's usually pretty good. Or, you know, right towards the end of cooking it. It adds a little bit of freshness that some people might like. So, that's about all the vegetables we have here. But other good choices would be things like celery. You could use that. That'll add a lot of flavor to it. A lot of flavor. Mushrooms. Okay, I know that's not vegetables, and I said we were talking about plant stuff. Yes, it's fungi. Yes, I know. Please don't yell at me. But they're good. They add meaty flavor. It soaks up a lot of the juices and everything, so it'll be good if you add mushrooms. Moving on, we have other plant stuff, aka herbs. So we have basil. Usually, you know, something you'll add to pasta sauce. Can get kind of minty if you add way too much. But you know, none of the herbs taste good if you add way too much. Rosemary. You know, you can use it in pasta sauce. It's good. They are basically little pine needles, so don't stab anyone in the mouth. So, you know, you can be sparing that time here. It's good. I usually add it. Again, just add some different types of flavor. Other stuff you could use, I guess, would be parsley, cilantro, though cilantro can get kind of soapy. Bay leaves, though you want to pull those out instead of just leaving them, you know, in there for someone to bite into, because that's not good. Savory lemon thyme, though lemon thyme can, you know, sometimes get lemony. So if you like that, I guess that's good and everything. Moving on to seasonings. Obviously, salt and pepper. That's just your basic, you know, you need it for cooking. So, then we have cayenne pepper. This is much spicier than this. So don't use the same amount of this as you would of this, because you're going to burn your tongue off. So, you know, use it sparingly, but it is good, especially in the winter if you need, you know, a little bit of extra heat or something. Here we have Old Bay. That's good for meats and everything, makes it meatier. Over here we have Lowry's seasoning salt. Again, it's salt. So it's going to be salty. You can use it instead of a little bit of extra, you know, use it instead of salt or a little bit of extra salt, but be sparing. So what we got next is you could use extras like wine, though, you know, if it's a sweeter wine or a drier wine, it's going to have a different flavor, but, you know, they'll all make it a little bit sweeter, so if you like that, you can do it. So, on to what we do for making it. Here we have, you know, a pretty good pan for making pasta sauce. You can see it's relatively deep, so it is going to hold the sauce once you're in there. But up here, it's nice and flat on the bottom, big surface, so you can cook the meat. About cooking the meat, when you cook the meat, make sure you cook it thoroughly, because it's not going to cook very much once you add, like, the tomatoes and onions and all that other stuff. It's going to cook a lot less. So get it pretty much all the way cooked when you start. Add the seasonings in there with it when you're doing that. So, after you do that, you're going to throw in your cut up onion into the pan. You know, this one's non-stick. Make sure it's greased or whatever so it doesn't stick, of course, before. The onions are going to, you know, add some flavor, especially if you let them, you know, get translucent and then just a little bit brown. That's going to add some sweetness. Again, sweetness, I'm saying it again. But it's good. Then after that, you're going to add garlic. But be careful the garlic doesn't burn because it tastes bad. After you do that, throw in things like your mushrooms, your celery, your carrots, all that good stuff. And let those cook a little bit before you throw the tomatoes in. Tomatoes go in last because, you know, especially with canned tomatoes or even fresh tomatoes, they're mostly water, so those are going to have to boil off. And that's really the key to making a good pasta sauce, is let it go. Like, you don't want your pasta sauce to look like that. You want it to be, like, darker red. There's going to be a lot less of it when you're done than when you start, because you just need to sit there and let it bubble, so all the flavors get nice and reduced down. The other thing that you should make sure you do is pick the right pasta. So we will go back down to the basement to find pasta. Quick note about the pasta. It, you know, your regular spaghetti, angel hair pasta, whatever, is good. It's a nice standby. You can, you know, use that whenever. Also, penne noodles. That's good. I like rotini, especially the tricolor stuff. Though keep in mind the tricolor stuff gets its color from, you know, the addition of like tomatoes and spinach and stuff, so it does have its own flavor. You know, some people like it, some people don't as much. Then there's rotelli there. And behind this we have medium shells. Really, any pasta will work for this, so don't sweat too much about that. So, when you cook your pasta, make sure it's in a nice large container. If it's too close together, the starch is going to make it stick like glue, and you don't want to eat glue. So make sure you have enough water in whatever container you're cooking it in. you know, sorry, make sure it doesn't boil over on the stove, because that's a mess. And then, you know, there's so many tips and tricks that people tell you, like, oh, you just throw the spaghetti at the wall, and if it sticks, it's not. Nah, just taste it. It's so much easier if you just taste it. So, after you get your pasta done, you're going to have to strain the water off, you know, into a sink like that. After that, there's a couple things you can do. Those noodles are still covered in starch, so you don't want them to stick together. So you're either going to have to run some cold water over them to get all that starch off, or add a little bit of your sauce right away to keep it from sticking together. Then, if you're serving it, you're going to want to have whatever sauce is left over on the side for people who want more sauce. And you either pick a bowl or a plate. I guess a plate can be, you know, a lot fancier than a bowl. So, yeah, that's basically the conclusion. So, I know it probably doesn't feel like I taught you that much, but that was pretty much your basics on making pasta. A lot of different variations you can do with it. You can make it more of a Cajun style, add a little seafood, maybe a little milk to the sauce. Use andouille sausage like I showed you in the basement earlier. I don't know, vegetarian stuff, you'd want to use a lot more fresh stuff, a lot more herbs and spices, just to try to add the flavor you're missing from the meat back in. Other than that, I can't think of much, so I'm going to let you guys fly out of the nest here a little bit and see how you do on your own. So